Bye bye, Lisa. I ain't going nowhere.
All right, guys, it's 1 o'clock, so I'm gonna go ahead and take this thing live. Welcome to the Million Mentors March webinar for mentorship, and today we're going to discuss clear guidance and how it applies to building confidence, good decision making, and behavior in our youth. Okay, and if you guys want to ask questions, again, there's our Twitter page, MMMBB01, and there's our email. You can send a question there, mmmbbo1@gmail.com, and then there's our new website, which we'll talk more about. That's the Million Mentors March .org. It's a www site, so you guys can hit that site. And again, I'm Gus Wright, the site founder, and I don't know if Amir's going to make it in this time. He's over in Africa still performing his duty. Okay, last seminar we talked about critical thinking, and that was myself, and we had a lot of good discussion from Jabari Jackson and Dante Hill. This seminar is going to be myself again, and we have in attendance right now so far Martise Jackson. He always brings a great deal of insight, and I think Jabari Jackson's going to make it in, and I don't know if Dante is going to make it or not. We had a few more people sign up and said that they were going to make it, and we'll get some discussion going for that on the topic of giving guidance. Okay, I have a habit of I'm probably not going to change this habit, because even though I know it offends some people, there's others out there who benefit from it by becoming more conscious to the things that we often take for granted. And that habit is stating the obvious. Okay, and today I wanted to get together to build on last session's talk about critical thinking. And as always, I'm motivated to do this and to hold these sessions because I care about the youth, and I know I can't help or influence every youth in the world. So these sessions are going to be focused on the needs from within the black community. It's going to be focused guidance in particular, because I think that can help us. It'll add on to the numbers of great black kids that are already out there making good decisions, and provide some tools for those great parents that are already out there and that are present, and hopefully motivate those parents to go out and help mentor other kids who might not be as fortunate as their kid. Okay, so we're going to talk about what is guidance, and we're building off of critical thinking, and we're also going to talk about why guidance is important. And basically, guidance is important because it directly impacts decisions, confidence, and ultimately the behavior of our children. And the two photos below are snapshots that I took from some videos that we're going to discuss a little as we progress through this thing, because I feel that we each have a protege, whether we know it or not. There's always somebody looking at us, and that's going to try to mimic what we do, and most times it's our own children. Okay, and then we're going to talk about another video that a buddy of mine shared with me about a little girl in a middle school in Austin, Texas, and she's carrying on pretty badly in this video, and we're going to discuss, who could she possibly be mimicking, or if we think she's mimicking anybody at all, if she concocted these behaviors on her own. Okay, so what is clear guidance? And after this discussion, we hope that the attendees will be able to identify what concepts and methods associated with providing and asking for guidance, and discuss the importance of clear guidance and apply principles in day-to-day life. To do that, we're going to touch on unclear guidance, and then we're going to move into defining and discussing what clear guidance is and how it impacts confidence, decisions, and our behavior. Okay, in many of our past sessions, you guys hear me mention indirect guidance to acknowledge the fact that at all times our children are receiving guidance. They are. This takes into account external influences such as peers, television, radio, internet, and most times the actions of adults in the way that we behave. The caveat here is that this kind of guidance, indirect guidance, is being received by these children without any coached interpretation, or shall I say parental guidance, or explanation or clear delivery of what the child is expected to do with that information. Children subconsciously look to us, along with these mediums such as the internet and television and radio, for an idea of what to do, as they are natural emulators. That's what they are. So we must be aware of likely misinterpretations and misperceptions. These often occur when we ask our children and mentees to do as we say and not what we do, so to speak. In reality, children are most likely to do as we do, more so than what we tell them to do. They respond more to what you are than to what you say. Another thing to be conscious of is ramifications of a hands-off approach. How often have you heard an adult say, well, I turned out all right? You know, you hear that all the time in the black community. They try to do things exactly the way their parents did. But this disavows the fact that you might be an exceptional person. Look back at the hood and think how many kids didn't turn out all right. And then ask yourselves, did you really turn out all right? Did you really? And and did you really overcome how you were raised? Look at your behaviors today. Lastly, acknowledge that we don't want to give our children and mentees all the answers. We don't want to do that because that doesn't challenge them to grow and think. But we do want to set them up for success, because the children that they're going to have to compete against in the world, you can trust me, they are being set up for success. And we'll do that by pointing them in the right direction towards the right resources. And remember that too much ambiguity, and that's uncertainty, creates undue stress on a child, which could result in uncertainty, which detracts from confidence, and it slows down progression. Okay, now let's take a look at defining guidance. And basically what it is advice or information aimed at resolving a problem or difficulty, especially as given by someone in authority. And when you're born someone's father or mother, you're in authority whether you believe it or not. And then there's that subliminal advice through your action, that subliminal guidance. Kids look to you, they live with you, they're around you most of the time, so they're receiving guidance from you indirectly. And it's basically that bottom line definition is the directing of the motion or position of something or someone, and you're guiding someone in a particular direction without leaving anything up to chance. Okay, so I threw up a couple of quotes here. We have brother Malcolm X. I like this guy. I read a lot of his work. And he asked the question, would you let a fool, he says a fool would let his enemy teach his children. And I'm asking the question, would you let your enemy teach your children? And that's not saying that anybody out there is your enemy, but that is acknowledging the fact that you don't know every teacher at the schoolhouse. You don't know every adult that your child is interacting with when they leave your home. You don't know the intentions of the people writing music and writing television programming. You don't know their intentions. So are you truly willing, without knowing if these people are a friend or a foe, you don't know that, are you truly willing to leave your children's development up to the devices of others? Okay, that's a question to ponder on. And then there's the beautiful Maya Angelou. I like this lady as well. And she says, nothing will work unless you do. And what that says, I doubt if I've ever met anybody who's given birth or conceived a child that and they don't want that child to turn out right, But Maya Angelou's words are very powerful. Whatever you try to do, it's not going to work unless you work at it. So, this takes into account the fact that we all work hard, most common people, day to day, and we become complacent sometimes in the guidance that we're giving our children. We let them go and we take things up for granted that, hey, they'll figure it out or they know. But if you really want your child to work, and that's leaning towards the intentions, the intended outcome. If you want them to come out right, it's going to take some work. So that's just managing some expectations and going back to that definition. Definition is the directing, and not just direction. Direction means I've given a direction. Now I'm just going to sit back and see where it goes. That means being a present factor, directing and guiding on a day-to-day basis the motion and giving advice and information along the way as need be. And it's important that we define the expected outcome to the kids, because children are brand new people. They haven't been here before, and there was once a time when you didn't know what you know. And they're at that point now, they don't know the things that you know, so you got to clearly define those outcomes, facilitate the needs and resources, and demonstrate when applicable to certain scenarios. If you're trying to get them to do a certain thing, a demonstration is always helpful. I know we got a couple pastors online here, both brothers Jackson. These guys are way smarter on the Bible than I am. Um, but the reason I bring that up is because of the simple fact that you know we are always we're indirectly guiding our children whether we know it or not. And the Bible says that we only have a certain amount of years that we're not even promised, but that we are expected to live on this earth. If you already know something, why waste your kids' time? Because you can believe that other people out there, or other races of people out there, aren't wasting their kids' time by making them relearn things that we already know. So that's what I mean by demonstrate when applicable. Show them the way. Okay, so that they don't have to relearn things. That's what's called passing the torch forward from generation to generation, using the lessons learned from this generation to make the next generation better. And believe it or not, you're demonstrating whether you're intentionally doing it or not. So that's something that I use to govern myself, with the things I do and say around my kids. Okay, so before we get into the discussion, I just want to point out the fact that there's no cookie cutter solution to mentoring and raising kids. There's no cookie cutter solution to that. And we will come across generally these three personas when we're dealing with kids from the ages of 0 to 18. There's a easygoing kid who's flexible. These kids are generally calm and happy and adaptable, and they tend to have regular sleeping and eating habits. And this type of child, a child with this type of temperament may not feel the need to talk about his emotions. So you might want to address those issues. And I think Martise Jackson brought up in a previous session about how emotional some of these boys are, especially in the inner cities. They fly off the handle and they shoot one another. So it's good to, as you're dealing with some of these kids who might fall into this persona, to talk to them about emotions and how to leverage and how to leverage thought to contain and control those emotions in some situations. Then you might come across the difficult, active, or feisty child. And these children are often fussy, high-strung, and intense. They have irregular sleeping habits and are fearful of new people and situations and are easily upset by noise and commotion. Parents should have a play area or set aside a time to play to get these kids to use their energy in a positive way. And mentors do the same. So that's that persona. Then there's the slow to warm up, the introverted child. These kids are typically inactive and fussy and tend to withdraw or react negatively to being put in certain situations. And their reactions, though, gradually become more positive as they gain exposure. So you'll see this in a lot of underprivileged kids. You'll see it all the time. My nieces come over and they don't get to be around, say for instance, a dog all the time, and they might be afraid to death of a dog until they learn the living patterns of that animal, and then they figure out, okay, it's just a pet, and it's something that I can have fun with and learn to love. So that's just an example. So that's just some things to consider. So right now, without belaboring the point, I want to move into some discussion. But before we move into the discussion, I wanted to show the guys who are online these questions so they can think about them. And while they're thinking about these questions, I'm just gonna play these two videos. And the first video is an example of how kids mimic our behaviors, and the second video is an example that a buddy sent to me. I think it was Jack. Yeah, is an example of a young lady carrying on pretty badly in the cafeteria. And I just want to know the guys' thoughts on that as well, if they feel like this is just her natural behavior, or she might have seen someone else handle problems in this way and she thinks that she's doing the right thing. Okay, but I'm gonna ask these questions to the guys before I show the videos, and then we can talk about them. Okay, can you recall a time in which you think you were given bad guidance, whether it be directly or indirectly, and what difficulty did it bring about in your life? And did it contribute to or detract from your success that you're experiencing right now? And how does looking back on it make you feel? Okay, now hang 1 second. Let me pull up these videos, guys. Okay. Okay, you guys can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
After my dad and my
I'm not gonna play the whole thing.
He inspired me to follow my dream.
Skip that.
It looks like rain again today. Dark clouds gather and fill the sky. Don't know how to talk to you, just know how to say goodbye.
What's wrong with you, Harry?
Okay, I think you guys get the point on that video, you know, and I think it's a great example, a good talking point. Now I'm going to show the other video of the young girl in the cafeteria. One moment, bear with me for a second. All right, you guys can see what I'm presenting?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I definitely want to know your thoughts on this. All right, guys, the floor is open. Any thoughts?
Whew. The floor. Well, they caught us smoking something, that's what we can first say, but hey, at the end of the day, you got to understand the upbringing that kid and the environment she grew up in. Her mother probably handled her situations like that.
Yeah.
Auntie, grandmother, because you know grandmothers are young these days and time. Probably handled her situations like that.
Definitely.
Auntie, welcome Denise, because you know grandmothers are young these days and time.
How you doing, Denise?
Hey.
How you doing?
Hey, Denise, you made history. You're the first woman to actually join us.
Okay. So, I want her to speak on this. Denise, you can have this topic.
Did you see the video, Miss Scott?
I did. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Loud and clear. Denise, you can have this topic.
Did you see the video, Miss Scott?
I briefly seen it.
Yes, we can hear you. Loud and clear.
Sorry, yeah, she was standing on the table saying she wished they would put their hands on her. And the question is, do you think she learned this behavior on her own, or she's mimicking someone else?
A combination of both.
The question is, do you think she learned this behavior on her own, or she's mimicking someone else?
A combination of both.
The question is, do you think she learned this behavior on her Yeah, I definitely agree. I think we got a little bit of echo going on here, but I definitely agree that no child comes up with these ways on their own. But society is going to judge them based on their merits, and once they decide to carry out these acts on their own, then society's not going to go back and say, "Hey, mom showed her to act this way, dad showed her to act this way." So I think that puts it on us as mentors and as parents to make sure that we're carrying on in a way that we want our kids to carry on. And that's something that we oftentimes overlook because I could state the obvious, like I said, I always do when it comes to guidance. Make sure that you're clear. Make sure that you give the 5 W's when you want your kid to do something. Make sure that you point them to the right resources. But these are all verbal cues that kids take, and sometimes they'll take 30% of what you say. But I will say this, and I'm not an authority, but I'm getting older, and I think age gives most of us authority on certain topics. I will say that how we act, you'll see those traits being carried out more so than what we say to our kids. Any thoughts?
Where you going?
What's going on, brothers? How y'all doing today?
What's going on, George?
We're doing good. How you doing?
We good. What's going on, brothers? I just wanted to get a definitely want to say about it's more of a learned behavior than I would say than they. I just wanted to get a definitely want to say about it's more of a learned behavior.
Get out, get out, get out.
And
Did you hear me?
I just wanted
Daddy?
definitely want to say about
Did you not hear what I said?
more learned behavior.
Get out, get out, get out. They play like this, huh?
Okay, you there? You guys there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I heard a little bit of an echo there. Yeah, definitely a learned behavior on part. Now I'm gonna throw these questions up. You guys see the questions on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Any of you guys want to take these questions on? Throw these questions up. You got questions?
Yes.
Hey, Gus. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, bro.
Yes. I've been tuning in to the entire broadcast so far. Very, very interesting discussion and very interesting questions. I guess I'll take a stab at this. Can I recall a time when I think I was given bad advice or bad guidance? That's happened a lot of times. I think one of the worst things, and you kind of talked about it in the catchphrase of "Look at me, I turned out all right."
The worst thing is, you kind of talked about it in that phrase, look at me, I turned out all right. The worst thing is, you kind of talked about it in that phrase, look at me, I turned out all right.
I think someone needs to mute their mic. Like if you're not talking, like mute your mic, or it'll keep looping with the feedback.
Yeah, just hover over the top and hit the mute button over the mic, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's the piece of bad advice I've gotten several times in my life, particularly with Um, I'll give you a good case in point. One of the many times I got the bad advice. I remember I had a soldier that was not properly supporting uh, his children. And he said that, hey, I wasn't properly supported and I turned out all right. And I was like, that's not necessarily the right way to look at life or look at the situation for your child, because experiences teaches us how to live if we learn the lesson from the experience. And if your father or mother did not support you, it doesn't it's not a good idea or a good way of preparing your child to be healthy. Because to me, healthy is success. It's not a good way of preparing your child for being healthy in the future. I'll power down. After that, my kid's turning up.
I would have to totally agree. But this is my one thing. When you know better, you do better. So to live on that caveat of I lived a rough life, or things were bad, or my upbringing was bad, so I'm just repeating what I was taught, is bad. I really and truly believe that you want better for your kids. You mentioned that earlier. You want better for your kids. So when you know better, you do better.
Yeah, that's one of Maya Angelou's quotes. Do the best you can until you know better. And that is powerful advice. Any other takers on these questions before we move on? I can
Yeah,
definitely give an example myself.
yeah, definitely. And I also want to follow up on that. So when a person knows better, I don't always believe it automatically translates to doing better. I think that's the real problem. It's like we think a person knows better from the bad experience. We think that, well, I just told this person the right thing to do, so therefore they're going to do the right thing. And like in life, that's just not the way it is. You talk to a person that disobeyed a law and I'm talking about a good law, and they're in jail, and they'll tell you, hey, I knew that if I did this, I would go to jail, but they do it anyway. That's on the extreme sense, but in like little small decisions that we make, as we identify that we were wrong, it's like, do we have the honesty with ourselves to be like, you know what? I've been parenting wrong, or I've been making improper decisions. Do we have the courage and honesty with ourselves to rectify and correct the course, as my wife says?
Yeah, those are hard questions, and back last quarter when we did a talk on critical thinking, one of those steps in the Delphi method was self-inspection, looking at yourself. And I think when it comes to giving guidance, that principle lends itself as well. Because, yeah, we talked about verbal guidance, but now we're talking about that subliminal guidance that we give off through our actions. And self-inspection is an important part of that. Because, I say here, and I know this will go broad and live to everybody. Sometimes I drink too much, and my kids are right there if it's a party or something, because I don't party in the streets. I party at home, but I got to make sure that I look, at what I'm doing, because if I want them to behave a certain way, I have to behave a certain way myself, because they look to us for everything, and I always talk about language because I'm fascinated by it. How can a child, between the ages of 0 to 4 become fluent in a language? Because they're in the house with the people who speak that language. And this is the language of behavior we're discussing right now. Our kids are carrying on the way that they are nowadays and shooting one another because that language is being spoken around them all the time. So in terms of guidance, that's that indirect guidance that we need to look at as a people and make sure that we correct some of these actions if we want kids to grow up and be raised in a or and act and carry themselves in a certain way. And and to answer these questions myself, I can recall, just like Brother Jackson here said, plenty of times I've been given bad guidance. You know, go ahead on, man, be a dog one time by your homeboys or your partners, especially the older guys, and you see what they doing, and that stuff. You say, well, he doesn't. I look up to this guy. Well, maybe it's okay to do. We got to really be careful at that stuff because these kids are looking to us and they look up to us whether you know it or not, and there's always somebody watching. And yes, those types of things have brought about difficulty in my life. And did they contribute to my success? No. And I think it's the grace of God, that I was able to overcome some of that stuff, decisions that I made in the past. But we cannot, like we said earlier, say, well, I turned out all right, so let them go ahead and go, because that detracts from the fact that you're blessed and you're an exceptional person. And everybody's not exceptional, and it could be a case where your kid is not exceptional and they won't be able to overcome, or your mentee won't be able to overcome a poor decision. So we got to make sure that we give them both good verbal cues and cues through our actions. And I'm going to move on so we can get through these slides and open up the floor for whatever you guys want to talk about before we get out of here. Let's go through here. Okay, we're doing well with the mentorship site. Cumulatively, over 60,000 people we reached through both sites. And I'm glad Brother Scott and Sister Scott are able to get online, because there would be no Million Mentors March for Girls if it wasn't for Sister Scott's words of advice when we were down in Germany the last few nights. She said, where's the site for the girls? And I thought it was a great question. And I'm glad to see her finally on. And I hope she knows that the face goes on the site now as a mentor, because once you show up at a session, I'm putting your face on our site. Okay, we're doing well, and we have a new website now, as I spoke of, and we're going to feature Miss Bria Bass as our mentee of the quarter, and we'll change that up to a mentor or a mentee every quarter. And it's because of an essay that she wrote. And you guys can go to the site and you can read that essay, but this is the power of the community and the power of the village. Miss Scott knows that I write. I like to write. I enjoy language. And so she reached out and said, hey, my daughter wants to communicate something to the school, and can you look at what she's written? And then we did some tweaks, and she was very effective in delivering her message, because it all boils down to, during Black History Month, her school wasn't focusing on Black history. They were lingering on British history during Black History Month, and they just did the status quo that's been done since kindergarten. And I think she brought up a universal concern. Yeah, this is Martin Luther King. He had a dream. Now let's move on to the next thing. And that was their Black history. But we know that there's more to our history than that. And there were a lot of contributing factors to us as a people making it to where we are. And long story short, she was able to convince her school through her writing to allow her to put on a presentation. And Sister Scott and Brother Scott, you guys can tell us more about it if you want to. But I'm very proud of her. I know you guys are. And the Million Mentor site is glad to even have touched her in any kind of way, because she's on to great things. And in closing, here's a book recommendation, Building Resilient Children, that other Brother Jackson brought up to me, and I think it's a good read. I've skimmed through some of it, and basically what that gets at is kids from 0 to 18 and teaching them about different ways of coping with the day-to-day things that we encounter in life. And it talks about building confidence and a connection and character and contributions and coping so that they can bounce back from the challenges and excel in life despite the things that are going to happen, and there's no getting around it. Yeah, so it's Dr. Ginsburg is the writer, and you guys can go on barnesandnoble.com or Amazon and get that book, and it's a good read for mentors and for brand new parents. Because call me crazy, but I think it's kind of crazy that children are born to people who've never had children before, and they just keep them in the hospital a few days and then send them on their way and leave them to their devices. And I think that's the reason you got so much racism, so much crime, and things in America. And there should be a little bit more, as far as teaching people about the damage you can do to a child if you don't pay attention to what's being done and said to and around that child. So yeah, take a look at this book, and it's a helpful tool. And that's going to close out the formal part of this session. And you guys feel free to dialogue and say whatever you want to say to the group before we all go our separate ways for today.
We're on. Hey, first of all, I want to thank you guys for having me. Second of all, thanks again, Gus, for taking the time to read over her paper. The school ultimately did a greatness presentation. They didn't even focus on Black history. Bria then got super frustrated that she felt like she said something, but it didn't make a difference. She did her presentation on Malcolm X, and she did awesome. I have the video that I need to post so that you guys can check her out. They did it in a group event. I think her school ultimately just did it to pacify it so we wouldn't go any higher. But lo and behold, she has a little brother right behind her who requested the same honors class. So they got Team Scott, Team Bass, one more year. And they got the Millions Mentors March behind them too.
Yeah, I think she made a difference. No matter how much of a small ripple, that's a ripple effect that's going to come behind that. And I doubt if those teachers are going to try anything like that again. And we just got to keep on pushing. And I've always been a firm believer that we can educate our kids. So, if next session she want to do some Black history, I can ask all the guys here right now to present a topic on Black history, and she can come here, and I guarantee you there's some stuff to be learned. And we'll do it ourselves and make sure that it's done right. And if she wants to present here as well, and I know we're going to listen. And as I said, we've peaked over 60-some thousand people that we've reached through our site, and we'll post her presentation. And if she don't reach people who don't want to hear, she'll definitely reach the people who do want to hear. And that's the case in this situation that I think she's dealing with people who just don't want to know. And the old African proverb, not to know is bad, but not to wish to know is even worse. And there's a lot of people who do want to know. And I know I'm a person who wants to know. As I was talking to my wife this morning about knowing our history and the importance of it, even if it comes down to a simple thing such as medical. Because DNA is a powerful thing. You guys see my daughter, I post pictures of her drawings, and my wife do. Well, my mother was an artist. And my mother definitely didn't birth her, I did. So certain traits transcend from one generation to the next, whether it's artistic, whether it's athleticism, and also the bad things. They translate from one generation to the next. So it's important that we know our history. So that's a stance that we can take from the Million Mentors to put on a presentation. I think that'll be our next seminar. Where we talk about Black history, because I don't believe in a month for Black history. It's just too much. We can do it here for the next 2 or 3 seminars and put our history out there, and then we'll use that as a launch pad into other topics. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say congratulations to the parents for instilling that type of ethic in your daughter. That is wonderful, because it is a very difficult thing to go against the grain. And another thing that she's doing that she might not be aware of is that she is exposing them to the fact that a lot of African Americans and black folks take pride in themselves. The problem, I think one of the big problems with a lot of Americans outside of the African American community, they're under the myth that we don't necessarily take pride in ourselves. And because the only things they know about us is the things that they see on TV, which are at most times negatively slanted, that is their opinion of us. So it's just wonderful to see that your daughter is speaking to them, and they also missed an opportunity to learn. They really missed a golden opportunity to learn. The reason we enjoy the things that we do, whether it be if you enjoy playing basketball, you had to play basketball to realize that you enjoyed it. If you enjoy music, you had to listen to the music to realize that you enjoy it. So good on your daughter. I want you to continue to encourage her, because that is what molds the character to overcome the setbacks in life. Because not all setbacks are self-inflicted. Because she's going to be dealt some blows in life that she didn't inflict herself, and this is going to help her overcome in the future.
We appreciate that, and like my wife was saying, we definitely going to encourage to keep pushing forward, even though she feels like she wasn't heard. Like I told her, you were heard, you got your point across. They hear you now, but they don't want to acknowledge it the way that you wanted it done. But in time, they will. So, appreciate it.
And I'm gonna caveat on this right here. Jesus wasn't accepted either when he brought in a new religion. So whenever you bring something new to somebody, they're not going to accept it because it takes them out of the norm what they usually been doing. We got to remember that Jesus went through the same thing, and us as black people, we got to realize it's the same thing going on us today in time. It might be a different year, different times, but we all know time matters. And what she did, she opened their eyes. And yes, she gonna get crucified for it, but guess what? She said what she had to say, so they know how to take her.
Absolutely, and that is powerful. And before we move into another topic, since this thing is recording, and I know millions of people go to YouTube and might discover this, I want to show people how to get to Bria's essay on our website. And let me share my screen real quick. Okay. You guys able to see the screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, when you get to the website, all you'll have to do is just go up here to our mentors, and then you'll see her right there, feature mentee, Miss Bria Bass, and it talks about what she was able to accomplish. And you can either click the essay here to read it, or you can go down to click here to read it, and you can go ahead and read it. And you know, I leave it up to the parents if they want comments or anything like that on her social media, but it's probably good enough here. If you want to leave comments, you can just go to our talk forum and leave a comment or a testimonial or something like that. But that's the site, and it's a little more stable than a social media site. But I say hats off to her, and I say it's very impressive what she was able to do. And when you're in the face of ignorance, just like Brother Martise Jackson just said, sometimes you're not going to be appreciated in due time, but you know, the works that you do is never going to be taken for granted in the long run.
Yeah, but I'm gonna definitely check it out. I'm gonna have my 15-year-old check it out, and it'll be a good topic, good discussion for us. Again, I'm very proud of her, and hats off to her.
Thanks again, guys. Bria's in the room. She has heard all the conversations. She has given me okay to comment, post on her social media. She may lose friends, but at the end of the day, she has us as family to keep her going. But she did give the go ahead. Social media, the website, it doesn't matter. Hit her up. That wasn't the best picture she got up there, but she's also 14. So,
Hey, send me one, if you want something else, send it. I thought it was a cool picture. It shows a lot of personality. I seen her run track, and she's a smart kid and awesome.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, he put a picture of me from about like 6 years ago. I thought it was real funny when I saw it on the website. I just gave him a pass on it. Whatever.
Hey, well, you know, everybody who attends our session goes on the site as a mentor because you've given something of yourself, and that's your time. And to me, that's more valuable than money. So, Brother Scott and Sister Scott, send me a photo so I can post y'all's pictures up there also. And people do reach out. Trust me, they do. They just want to know things, you know. And like I said, right now it's Miss Bria Bass, and there's a kid in New York City. And there's another kid in Savannah who've definitely uh, been really in touch with the site. And there's a few more people who've been kind of flaky, but you know, you can't save the world. And I feel like if we get through to one person, then our efforts aren't in vain because you never know who that one person might be. You know, because we talk a lot about, you know, Dr. King and Brother Malcolm X and Maya Angelou. Well, those are individuals. You never know what individual that we're touching through our giving of our time and our effort right here with this site. So thank you guys. And if you don't have anything else, I'm going to shut the session down.
Nothing else on our end. Appreciate it, gentlemen. Oh, and ladies. My bad. I can't forget about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, we evolving.
Yeah.